So today I want to talk about a different kind of research that I do every day. As you know, if you follow me online, normally I talk about academic research. And the other type of research that I want to talk about is research into the information, to the sources specifically of information presented to us online. In other words, I want to talk about spotting and verifying fake news, so verifying information and spotting, fact-checking fake news. So why did I even decide to record this video? Of course, this is because of the amount of fake news circulating every day online, and what shocks me even more is the number of people who tend to believe that and later argue with other users online about the validity of these so-called articles. And these people share this information, and sometimes I wake up and then just to find some ridiculous story, but then a couple of hours later I see half of my Facebook friends sharing that story. So I really want to encourage you in this video to be a researcher, but again, not academic researcher, but a researcher of information. So to use the tools that I want to talk about and just check and verify the information that you find online. Okay, so in terms of specific tools that I use, so let's start with fact checkers. So fact checking websites. So they do all the work for you, of course. You don't have to do anything, just type in Snopes or fact checker. I think that's the name. I'll put some links in the description. And basically what they do, they verify information. Not always, but nowadays I think they do most of the stories, most of the bullshit stories, because that's the only way to call them, that circulate, that go viral. So it's quite an easy and quick way to do it. But then of course there are some people who say that you cannot really trust Snopes, or you cannot really trust these any of these websites simply because the government pays them to lie to us. So that's another level of that conspiracy. So of course you want to check any information through Snopes simply because they spread misinformation. So that's what these people say. So fair enough. If that's the case, then you have some additional tools. So another tool that I use is called Bullshit Detector. So it's quite a nice name, and that's what it is. So it's an extension for Google Chrome, and basically it traces the source of information. So it spots when the information comes from famous, fake news websites, or clickbait websites. So it does some kind of a basic background check for you. Then another category of things and tools that you may use is related to the photos, so the pictures and the articles. So usually, as I said, these pieces of information, these news, are presented in some kind of an article. Quite often they have pictures in that article. So you have a range of tools to play with in terms of these pictures from the article. So you have, for example, Google reverse image search. So basically it will, so if you take the image from the article and upload it in that Google reverse image searching tools, it will show you the source of that image, so where it originally comes from. So usually these fake news websites, they of course don't do, they are not real journalism, so they won't be taking photos for their articles. They are just using some other pictures. So that's the first thing. It's reverse engineering of the pictures used in the article, which is very, very useful. Another tool is called Fotoforensics, and basically this tool shows you whether, again, you upload a picture and it shows you whether the picture was basically tampered with, whether it's been photoshopped, whether it's an original picture. So again, it may give you some kind of an indication. It depends, of course, on the context. I will talk about it at the end of this video, about the general advice and general context and what to do. So sometimes you may just feel in some contexts it may make sense to want to check this kind of information. And finally, another tool to use for images is called Jeffrey Image Metadata Viewer or something like that. So again, I'll link to it in the description. So basically this tool shows you the information regarding what kind of equipment was used to take that picture. So basically what kind of a camera was used, so what kind of model, and other details, which again can be super helpful, of course. So let's say an article claims to have a photo that was taken, you know, in the past. You may check what kind of camera was used, whether and it turns out that it was a new camera that did not exist at the time when this article claims this picture was taken. So that's one of the examples of how you can use it, but I'm sure there are other examples. So basically, without going into too much detail, I just want you to know that there are these options and they are super helpful. And finally, this one is even more interesting and in-depth and complex. So again, you may or may not want to use it. It's called Weather Underground, and basically it's a portal, a platform that helps you, that stores all the historical information about weather. So you can check any day and date in the past. Well, not any, but there is obviously some limit for how far you can go into the past with that platform. But you can see what kind of weather, what the weather was on a given day in the past. So again, imagine, of course, this. I have this image of somebody really obsessed with tracing these fake news to the extent where maybe it's not even worth it. But if you really want to, and you can, I guess you can check the location of where the image was supposedly taken, check that weather information and see whether on that day in the past it was in fact sunny in that precise location. So again, I find it hard to imagine that I would like to play with something that much and to that extent, but perhaps somebody, some of you may use this tool, or maybe for some other purpose that I did not think about in this video. So these are the tools that some of them I use them, some of them I don't, but these are the tools that you may find useful for fact checking the information online. Of course, there are plenty of other tools, and I'm sure if you start researching this topic, you'll find many more tools. But in terms of general advice that I wanted to give you, so I would say there are two main things to check if you don't really want to dive that deep into the whole fact checking activity. There are two main things that you should bear in mind, really. So the first is to check the context, and the second is to check the source of the story. So some of these, so these steps sometimes may involve using some of the tools that I mentioned, and sometimes they don't. So basically, to check the context, what I mean here, for example, to see what the story is about, check some basic facts. So quite often even Wikipedia helps. I know it's not the most reliable source of information either, but it may help check some basic facts. So sometimes just check like the most basic information, check it in Wikipedia or in Google. So check the context, but also see how the article was written. It's very important that you have that the article gives some kind of references, of course. Even though it, of course, is not an academic article where you have 50 references, but you may not have paid attention, but even in newspaper articles, quite often they do give some kind of reference, so where the information comes from. This is, of course, not true, not the case in fake news articles, where it's very common to find some very vague and general statements. They love to use the statement "scientists believe" because I think it makes them more, in their eyes, in their view, it makes them more credible. And unfortunately, many people tend to fall for that. So if they see "scientists believe," then you know they are already they bought the whole story. Then again, any quotes that you see, of course, quite often, so often to be honest, they are also not real. So they're being attributed to a given person. But then if you have a quick look online, it turns out that perhaps the quote is, you know, true, but maybe, you know, Elvis Presley said it, not Albert Einstein, or, you know, sometimes it just turns out to be a completely different story, different person, and different context in which somebody said something. So they love to put some words into people's mouths, and even when if they actually said something. So sometimes you Again, without context, these articles tell you that somebody said something, and in fact they did say that, but if you dig a little bit more for that information, the context in which they said it is, again, completely different from what this fake news article was trying to indicate. So that's all on the topic of spotting fake news. I just wanted, like I said, I wanted to share my experiences. I see it every day, and I thought it could be important. I thought maybe some of the tools that I mentioned, some of you may find useful. So as I said, this is also a kind of research. It may not be academic research, but if you have a researcher's mind, then it's very useful to apply it to your real life, not just to academia and academic research.